Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave, the Herald, and has been posted on the bulletin board of Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Neville.
Here.
Councilmember Douglas.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lair.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a couple of presentations, and we're going to switch order, and we're going to make a certificate of achievement that we have signed. Hopefully everybody has, for the Lower Township Raiders football team. And we actually have somebody in-house here, Deputy Mayor Lair, who is one of the assistant coaches on the team, and I would like him just to explain for a minute or two what these young men have achieved, and then we will go into the presentation. I will read this once you get a chance to say a few words.
The Lower Township Raiders football team is sponsored by the Recreation Department, and we're always very grateful for that. The support this town gives to its recreation programs is unmatched, at least in the football community, throughout our league anyway. But our kids compete in the Cape May County Junior Football League, which encompasses teams from Atlantic, Cumberland, and Cape May County. And all of our kids go to either Titleman, and we have one player that goes to Cape Trinity. But they're all our kids. I think almost all of them live in Lower Township, one or two that do not. And the football season is a huge commitment for these kids. It's a long season. It started at the end of June in boot camp with Coach Simonson's boot camp on Steggers Beach running, and it ended the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And there's no finer joy that a coach or a parent can experience than watching these boys achieve what they did throughout the year. They worked extremely hard. They competed together as a team. Football is the ultimate team sport, and hoisting that trophy and watching those kids celebrate on November 24th was something that I will cherish for the rest of my life, and I'm sure the boys will as well. Congratulations.
I will read the plaque, the certificate, and then we'll call the names of the individual players, and myself and the council will come down and we'll get you some TV time, gentlemen. That's the object of this thing. Certificate of Achievement recognizing the undefeated championship season of the Lower Township Raiders Junior High varsity football team. Whereas the Lower Township Raiders have a long storied tradition and history of championship football, while competing in the Cape May County Junior Football League, which is comprised of teams from Atlantic, Cumberland, and Cape May counties. Whereas the Raiders completed a 2012 undefeated regular season and an undefeated 3-game playoff, including a 38-0 defeat of arch rival Middle Township. And in case people on TV want to have that clarified, it was 38-0 over arch rival Middle Township. And whereas on November 24th, 2012, the Raiders culminated their championship season with a 29-18 victory over Egg Harbor Township. And whereas 26 young men have worked tirelessly from the beginning of July through the end of November, 5 days per week to accomplish their goal, and received tremendous support from parents in the Lower Township Recreation Department. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Lower Township Mayor and Council, the following players and coaches are hereby commended and congratulated on their achievement of excellence. Come on down, guys. We'll read them out down. You can have them. Come on. Why don't we get the coaches up here first, because you can shake hands with the players too. coaches right along here. The players can come up once I call their name. I need the coaches: Frank Simonson, Bill Miller, Flash Hughes. Can you hear me back here?
No.
No, can't hear me. Okay. Let me start over again. We got Frank, Bill Miller, Flash Hughes, Dave Harrison, John Altieri, Kevin, Sam Galura, Sherry Shelton, and Michelle Walsh. Would you come on up, please, if you're here, any of you? And you can line up along the front here, and as the players come along. You can come by this way and shake hands and then go there. Ryan Adams. Ryan, are you here? Okay, slide around. There you go. Drew Altieri. Altieri, rather. Drew, are you here? No. John Babbitt. Corey Brandt. Corey Carlson. Correct. Dennis Clough. I heard that. Aaron Cottrell. Charlie Denk. Sam Galura. Justin Glover. Tony Caparellis. Luke Lair. It's a familiar name. Gannon Lowry. Kamar Matthews. Chase Mendick. Chris Messick. Keegan Murray. Mark Nelson. Mike Nolan. Lorenzo Notch. Chris Rivera. Jacob Robb. Will Sandman. TJ Sheeler. Ian Taylor. And Joe Walsh.
It's an honor to accept this on behalf of the Lower Township Raiders football team, the coaches, and the parents. A lot of hard work, dedication, and responsibility went into this. This is payoff. This is payday. Thank you very much for all your support.
Well, it's always nice to see kids doing so much that's right, and and they wouldn't be there without the coaches. From one end to the other. I mean, it's all good, and it's something that we're proud of. Both the kids on the team and the people that put all their time and effort into coaching. And kids are like anything else. It's the amount of time you put into them is the way they turn out. The more time they get, the more examples they get of leadership, the more likely you're going to have kids that grow up the way that we want them to. And there's some people there that have a lot of potential. I'd like to say my football career was as successful as theirs. Somebody might want to put me on a lie detector, and it's not there. Not there. I went back to school. All right, we move on down the road, and we'll jump back up now to the certificates of appreciation, which we have, which is a result of the storm, the Hurricane Sandy. And do we have the CERT people here? Have they made it into the... okay, so we'll go down and get the list. I have to go down front for that. Then maybe council might want to say a few words in recognition of the people that that helped us. Is that the list here? Okay, we'll start with the... let me just say that, sure, it's been 6 weeks or so since the storm, and we were fortunate. We, by the grace of God, we survived, especially in comparison to our northern neighbors. But there were some trying moments out there, and there were some scary times while that storm was coming through this area. And there was an awful lot of people that made it work for this township. And they have in other storms, since we've been on in the past few years. It seems like we get hit with one emergency after another. And this town would not survive a single storm, not one, if it wasn't for the people who come out and help. And it starts with our own workforce, but it goes right into the neighborhoods, to the people who feel the compassion and the desire to help and have the skills in a lot of ways. So we're more than grateful for that help. We just would not survive as a town without the people that support us and back us up. Okay, could we get our CERT members up front first? I have Linda Boker. Let me get my glasses. Joan Keck, Cynthia Kraft, Kathy Aaron, Colleen Hendrickson, Rick Krause, Dennis Maloney, Bill Kraft, George Strayline, Paul Boker, Claire Euchter, Rich Sam Benedetto. And now we have them up here. Would you like to say a few words, or you just... you can hand that. Go ahead.
Basically, we're just a part of the community like you are, and we just thought that as individuals, we need to come together. We are trained. We've all had over 40 to 60 hours of training, and it's free training. If you join us, you too will get that same kind of training. We're not first responders, but we're here to help, and we are trained in sheltering. We're trained in being able to ascertain damages, and also how to handle ourselves. Because first and foremost in every emergency, you take care of yourself and you take care of your family, and then you help your others when you are strong to do that. And we have been made so. And we're very pleased to be able to help Lower Township in a small way. So we are here to just supplement the great work that all the first responders do. The firemen, the Villas Fire Hall were phenomenal in helping us, the Town Bank Fire Hall, the rescue squad, the EMTs, the nurses who came in and interacted at Sandy, and animal control, because they provided the backbone of all the work that we needed. We're just little, but thank you.
The nurses.
Right.
And we have Penny Basiki Krause. Hold on. And we have glasses, which are not on. Kathy Betham, Shanine Austin, and Barb Duffy. Are any of them here? Okay. You're here. Okay. Well, then you're going to have to bear the penalty for showing up. So come on up here. Ladies, right there. Smile, you on camera. Barb, clear to me. I as well as a lot of council, we went over to the shelter, and I know what you did. We were there, we saw it, and a lot of the people that were there to this day stopped me and thanked me for the things that people helped them over there at the Villas Fire Company in the shelter. And I know Penny was there the whole night, I think, and so was Rich, 2 nights. Yeah, and you know, and I mean, the kindness they showed the people that were laying on cots, that didn't know if they were going to have a home when this was over, was phenomenal. And, you know, from the bottom of our hearts, collectively, we say thank you. Okay, so. Moving on down the road to Lower Township Rescue. I'm looking for Patricia Brannon, and this is a familiar name, Brittany Conrad. Would they happen to be here? If there's Tom, I'll take that. I'll take it. You'll take it for that. That's another key component of what we do. They were out there in the storm too. I mean, just like a lot of the other people, the police, and they deserve all the credit also. Moving on down, we have the fire companies. Anybody here from the Villas Fire Company or the Town Bank Fire Company? There comes Mr. Harron. Or the Irma Volunteer Fire Company. You get to represent them all. It happens sometimes, you know. I mean, you happen to be in the neighborhood, so we got you. Thank you for what you do, not only during the storm, but all the time. Okay, we understand. I'm just going to give you the one. We'll get the other ones out. Thank you. And this is Richie Harron, who's the chief, right? Yes, sir. Okay. When the siren goes off at 2 in the morning and we roll over, he gets up. He's the one that goes out and gets in his car, his truck, and goes over there and helps people who are in need. So
just to put some PR out there, we did for the 2013 year, I believe all 3 fire companies, during the, I guess, ordinance of noise from, I guess it's 11 to 6 at night, we actually had the sirens reprogrammed so that they don't go off in the middle of the night. So total PR from the fire companies back to the public. The only thing that I recommend, Mayor and Council, is that for your next meeting, maybe have the incident action plan that you guys put together collectively with everybody and put it out to public notice to, you know, recognize those people and actually show how many man hours they put in volunteering. You know, not only our firehouse, but every volunteer that stepped foot during the storm.
well, we'll talk to the emergency management coordinator in case you happen to know that.
No problem.
We'll get that in here.
Absolutely.
And we owe him a lot. He should be here. And we have the Lower Township Community Response Team. Anybody here representing them? Okay. All right, we'll get that to them also. And now we go to the 3, you know, when this storm was over, that's the length of the storm. And now the storm is over. And, you know, we survived well during that storm. And I think that one of the reasons is that we were left to help the other people who didn't. And before you could blink an eye, 3 of our residents organized a food, clothing collection for anything that Saturday. I mean, the storm had basically just about lifted, and the extent of the damage that was incurred up north was slowly becoming evident to all of us. And we got a call into town hall, and 3 people on their own, and it's Heather Gray, Erica Young, and Deanna Wareham. Are you here, ladies? Would you please come forward so we can get you on TV also? There's another couple, Scott and Julie Lindholm. Are they here? Scott, are you here? No. Okay, I'll just lead in, and then maybe you could say a few words. We'll give you the microphone, and you can tell us what took place, because this was entirely on their initiative They called town hall and asked for a little bit of help, but they did it. They organized, and you can tell us how much was taken out of there, because I just know it was a huge amount. So can you take the microphone just for a minute? Does somebody want to be the spokesperson? You've got it, young lady. Go ahead, Erica. Don't be shy.
Usually not, but. I'm Erica, this is Heather and Deanna, and one of us just put on Facebook, after seeing some of the devastation on the news and whatnot, that, we saw how lucky we were, and we just asked if we could get a haul or something, if everybody would be willing to donate their unused storm-proof items, and then if there'd be people also willing to help transport it up north. And the response was just wonderful. Everybody in the community pulled together, and I don't have an exact amount of how much we took out of there, but initially we had a list from a church in Egg Harbor Township that was being used for a shelter. They asked for what we thought was crazy, like over 1,100 cans of soup and 350 brownies, and we're like, oh, we hope we can get that and fulfill this for them. And the drive technically started at 12 o'clock, and by 1 o'clock a truck and trailer was on its way there, and just so much more left. So I think the donations rolled in until about 7 that night, and we sent, I don't even know, 8 tons, I believe, to the Atlantic City Rescue Mission. We had a storage shed donated to us from a safekeeping to store the leftover items and the things that just came in the days to follow. And it just really took off. We got a phone call from a woman in Delaware. She organized a week-long drive, and in the meantime, Cape May Fire Company called and asked if we would hold one there as well. So by the time we had the Cape May drive over Delaware, that all came together. We needed the hangar in the airport, because it was that big. We had 15,000 square foot, and I think we used 13 of it at least. So it was crazy. But this was not, I mean, we did get the ball rolling, but this was something that the community did, as a whole. We couldn't have done this on our own by no means. So it's just today, before we came. Before we got here today, we just unloaded a 53-foot truck from New Hampshire. People that pulled together a toy drive, shoe boxes from Santa, more clothing, diapers, shoes, everything. So people are just still, being really generous. So, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
We delegated.
She drew the short straw, right? I mean, that what they did was, I don't know that we've ever seen something like that before, but I think that they brought out the humanity in the people in the township, and they couldn't wait to get over there quick enough to donate. And there were people pulling up with like cartons. They went over, they didn't buy a couple of cans of soup. They bought the whole shelf and brought it back. And I mean, it was, you guys did a fantastic job. And, without you, a lot of people would have been scratching and searching, so thank you. Now, there were a whole bunch of other people involved. I believe Scott and Julie had some of the transportation issues that they worked on. And here's a list of names that I've been asked to read out.
And this is just the list that we gave is just like the people who went like way above and beyond. There were still countless names. Like we'd have been here all
I
night
understand.
rattling off.
I have Keith Yatsk and Kim Polillo of Victorian Gardens Landscaping, Chris Donnelly, Ace Safekeeping, Ace Hardware, North End Thrift, Bumblebee or Snows, West Side Market, Hello Gorgeous Photography, Lobster House, Seashore Foods, A Piece of Cake, Back Bay Bistro, DRBA, and of course our Lower Township Public Works guys were over there too. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here's where you want to look on TV. Stop waving on the camera, because you got to do that.
That's what we do.
All right, now you're in. Okay, we're moving down now, and we're going to go into closed session. This is an update on a contract, which when we come out, we may or may not approve. So we'll be going into closed session. Don't anticipate it being that long, but you don't know until you get in there. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Resolution 2012-285, a resolution providing for a meeting not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act and the contract updates.
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Councilmember Lair? And Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor Lair. Mayor Beck?
Yes. Okay. Here we go. We got the Christmas, New Year's Eve family party. Is it on?
No, I didn't.
I don't have it on
December 31st, no.
December 31st. Pull it up. Funny around.
All right,
Okay, here we go. You ready?
you want to do another roll call?
Go ahead. We need a motion.
Councilmember Conrad? Here. Councilmember Neville?
Here.
Councilmember Douglas?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Lair? Here. Mayor Beck?
Here.
Consent agenda, excuse me. Approval of the minutes from December 3rd, 2012. Membership application for Christopher J. Winter Jr. at the Town Bank Volunteer Fire Company. Resolution 2012-286 through 2012-288.
Is there any council comments or questions on the consent agenda? Open it up for public discussion on the consent agenda. Close public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make the motion to approve consent
I'll second
agenda.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lair? Yes. Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Regular agenda. Resolution number 2012-289, a resolution to ratify the memorandum of understanding between Lower Township and the Lower Township Supervisors Union.
Is there any council questions or comments concerning this resolution? Open it up to public portion on this resolution. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Fred Long, Cold Spring. I'd like to express the hope that early next year, an open government effort will be developed so that both parties, union and public, will have some understanding of what is in these resolutions before council votes on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions or comments in addition to that? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion to approve in a second?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Abstain.
Deputy Mayor Lair?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Resolution number 2012-290, a resolution authorizing increases for non-union employees.
Okay, is there any council comments or question on that? Is there any public comments or questions on that? Close the public portion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion. Resolution 2012-290.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lair?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.
Ordinance number 2012-22, an ordinance amending Chapter 400 of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Lower, 2012. This is to allow dune construction without review of the Planning Board. This is the second reading and public hearing, and this ordinance has been published in accordance with the law and made available to the residents.
Is there any council comments on this? Questions? Is there any public comments or questions on this? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Hi, my name's Kathleen.
Would you please come forward and take the microphone?
Certainly
Thank
will.
you.
Hi, first of all, I want to say I'm grateful to be here tonight to see what the community has done, because that was wonderful, and so thank you for that. My name's Kathleen Arena. I live on Beach Avenue, 5 Beach Avenue in the Villas. I'm a year-round resident here. Because of Sandy, our group, and I think that you've heard from, or talked to Steve Weiss about this already, I know that we're not the only ones along the bay, but our section along Beach Avenue was severely devastated, and we lost a good portion of our dune. Some of us lost more than others, but it was pretty much ravaged along there. Thankfully, everybody's house is still standing, but some of the neighbors' houses are actually out on the beach right now, and I don't know if anybody has gone over there and taken a look at it. I don't know how we can have help to do what we need to do there. And I know there's been talk of a bulkhead, which is a possibility. I'm not a proponent of that. In the past, when I purchased my property 20 years ago and built a house there, I own 2 properties, 5 Beach where my house is at, and 7 Beach Avenue, which is an empty lot. 7 Beach, the empty lot, I started to go through to, I'm backing up here, let me just do this. I started to go through the CAFRO approval in early 2010, late 2009. So I have engineers, attorneys, the whole gamut. Already in the process of that, I have a little over $50,000 into it. I don't know what's going to happen with that because of how much dune I've lost and how much property I've lost there. So we're just going to have to see. What I do know is that we need to build the sand back up. So back to the proponent of the bulkhead. When I first bought my property in '93, I put snow fencing up. I did it wrong the first time. I had a big long straight line. Somebody from the township called me and said, listen, because we own up to high tide line, so I went that far out. It was way too far. Had to come, take that down, and put it back up again properly. So I zigzagged it. Within about not even a year of going through all the seasons, there was enough sand being built back naturally into there that I went out and then planted the dune grass. Within about 2.5 years, that really took off. And probably about 3 to 4 years later, I was able to do another fence. With Sandy, I lost all of that, and some, but without that, I think that it would have been much more devastating to my property. So, I'm a proponent of putting the sand back and us planting dune grass and building our, it's going to take time, but there's no other way to do this. I think that's the best way to do it. So, what I think that we need, and it has to be soon, is sand put back there and all along our section there so that we can build that back up, put sand back, put some snow fencing up, and then eventually put the dune grass spikes back in. You with me on all that so far?
I am, but I think you're off target in a certain way, but you're this far into it, so we probably, this specific part that we're talking about has to do with the ordinance that we're now passing, which has to do with eliminating a review that we currently do regarding dunes and forwarding it to DEP for their look. It's a redundant review, and we're eliminating that.
Oh, the sand
but it
dune
doesn't
review.
have to do with the whole gamut that you're going through right now. And I'm not. But then, at call to the public, you can do the same thing you're doing now. You're just out of place in what you're doing.
I understand.
But the shorter answer of this is, and when we go to maybe to call the public, maybe Gary can help me with this, but I'm not, we're not 100% sure, and in fact, I think we have a meeting on Wednesday up at the county with FEMA, what exactly FEMA's intentions in relationship to all the beaches. It hasn't been completely decided yet. Am I correct on that, Gary? Can you help me with that a little bit just for a minute? And I know we're out of order or we're out of line as far as this isn't what we're currently talking about the ordinance, but maybe he could satisfy real quick the questions you're asking.
my understanding is that FEMA will only cover an engineered dune. So something that was engineered, paid for, you know, over time, and then them records are kept, and then FEMA would reimburse. I'm only in on the public end of it.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, the township can't connect with the private resident. You have to file for public assistance on your own through FEMA.
Yeah, we've done that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've all done that.
And that's probably where you're gonna be, because, I mean, that's a huge beach down there.
Yeah, I get that. But here's the bottom line of all that, and it may have to be they'll have to wait and sit down and come back up when it's time for our section.
When we get the
Which
final delineation from FEMA, then we'll know what they're doing, and then we can let you know as far as that goes.
Well, FEMA's not gonna do anything.
Okay.
And, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I think I can safely say that FEMA's not gonna do anything. It's gonna be up to us, and however much the township would be able to help us in that area, I don't even know. I think what the bottom line for us homeowners, for a few of us anyhow, in our discussions is that give us the permission to go back onto the beach, move the sand that we lost from there back up onto our dunes.
Okay.
So where do we even start and how do we even go about doing that?
Well, we're making it easier with this ordinance right now. That's one step, because you won't have to review that part of the process with our board. And it'll be between basically you and DEP at that point. Now, we don't have total directions on that ourselves, and it's something that we've talked about. Go ahead, Gary.
Mayor, we do have in our beach maintenance permit the ability to push 1 foot of the beach from the low tide level back to the dune area. Although that's a costly expense. I mean, I'm waiting for an answer. I got a request from another resident who owns the beachfront. You know, can he hire a contractor to push that sand back up under our permit? I'm checking into that with DEP and, you know, and FEMA if we're allowed to do that. So I will have an answer on that. I mean,
Right.
you know.
I would suggest that at some point, you know, maybe when we get, you know, if you could round up some phone numbers and maybe your people can get a chance to come down here. When we get the answers, we can sit and talk with you. I mean, it's, you know, there's so much going on up north and everything that I just don't know that I understand where you're at. It's not helping you here.
Right.
But, you know, at the same time, it's hard to get definitive answers. They're in uncharted waters and they're trying to figure out some of it themselves.
Right. I'm not expecting answers from them. I think what I'm hoping for is that as a community that we can do it here within ourselves. I don't know that we have to go to DEP to be able to go push sand off of the beach that came from our dunes and move it back up. I'm not sure.
Unfortunately, we do.
Unfortunately,
they regulate it. So.
The DEP, you haven't been in touch with the DEP as of yet?
No, not pertaining to this.
They did, in relation to the storm, they set up storm emergency request unit, and they have a gentleman whose name and number I can give to you, but they are handling just this type of issue, and that's what they're set up for. But there's a 10-step process that you have to do to provide them, and I can give you the email that I received from that gentleman.
Okay.
What that process is. But
Mm-hmm.
speaking from experience, in a previous engineering firm, we were on the beach when we shouldn't have been, and the township got fined $72,000. So I wouldn't hire your backhoe tomorrow to move your sand.
Yeah, they'll frown upon that. But at the same time, what you really need to do is to stay in touch with us at Town Hall, maybe with the manager, if you leave your name and phone number, so that when we get stuff, we can pass it on to you.
Yeah, I think it's imminent though, because if we have another storm, there's no protection now at all in front of our houses.
Right.
So it's not, and that's why I say even that we would take it upon ourselves to do what we need to do, because to just have to wait and go through the red tape of DEP, I don't think so.
You have to call this gentleman.
I will do that. Yeah.
Because they set up a response unit to handle this type of issue that you're talking about.
And that's separate from FEMA,
Yes, it is.
okay?
New Jersey State DEP.
DEP takes care of the environmental aspects of it, so they're looking at you not destroying the environment by what you're doing. So that's the clearance he's talking about now. FEMA's, emergency management.
Right.
It's a different thing, but they're the ones that come out and make sure that, turtle eggs aren't being disturbed and the right
Horseshoe
birds.
crabs.
Right, so that's where we have to go out to, and I think with the storm, they've laxed up a little bit from where they usually are, especially since these are homes that are already in existence, you're not trying to build on virgin land out there, but that's who you have to get in contact with, because they're the ones who deal with what sand can be moved, what sand can't be moved.
Okay?
Okay, all right.
That's the best we can do for you now, and if you could leave your name after the meeting with the manager, then we'll have a contact person talk to this gentleman right here. Okay.
Thank you.
Back to the ordinance. Is there anybody that has a question? This is specifically the ordinance. Dave?
Hi, David Brandon Irma. I have a question. Like taking away the review of the planning board, are we also taking away the review of our own township engineer and solely relying on the DEP?
Well, I believe
Because
that-
once they do the engineering and they come down with it, that's what you're stuck with, and you're not going to be able to change it. You got to be in on the ground floor to get involved in it to be able to make a difference with whatever they're doing. And if you don't have a review process, at least by our township engineer, how are you going to be in on the ground floor?
Well, this came originally from the planning board.
We approved the ordinance.
Right. I mean, this is where it came from.
I don't have a problem with the planning board not reviewing it, but I have a concern about the township engineer not being able to review it.
Well, Bill Gastock made the request to council on behalf of the board. However, we can have our engineer
Did
take a
anybody
look
ask that
before
question
it's...
about the township engineer still reviewing it?
Well, we followed his recommendation on that. I
But
mean,
Dave,
it
we
wasn't-
could have the township engineer look at it before it goes up. I don't think that's a problem in the house, do you, Mayor?
Well, the problem is his point would be that he wouldn't have standing to prevent it from going up if the township engineer, I mean, be more specific and give us an example.
Well, my example is if they're going to do a dune project on any beach in our township,
Right.
if we don't have a review process to see something in there that we particularly don't like or don't agree with, if we solely rely on them and their engineering, you're not going to change anything after the fact. The DEP is pretty rigid in the things that they do. And you're not, without having input into what they're doing, or at least an understanding of what they're doing, other than just saying it's going to be a dune project, without seeing the engineering, how are you going to know exactly what they're doing? If somebody in this town don't review it.
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the bottom line is DEP has final say on it.
I understand that, but there's also a negotiation process where sometimes you can talk things over and make some changes that are more beneficial to your particular situation. But if you don't have that input going in, how are you going to make the changes? It's going to be a done deal when it gets to you.
Well, doesn't the engineer always, don't the
I don't
planning
hear-
board always have the option of?
Mayor, I don't know, you're the ones changing this ordinance. I don't know, it says here, amending chapter 400 of the revised general ordinances. I don't know what that ordinance says. I don't know how to translate that. So, I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
the issue was, Dave, that it was a redundant review. It was the same review that they would do up at DEP. This was what explained to us
I
by our
understand, but
planner.
that's the DEP doing it.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that it was explained to us that what we're basically doing is charging them twice and just basically putting another block in front of them.
I just think that there ought to be something in there. I don't have a problem with it not going in front of the planning board and the whole planning board not making a decision on it. That doesn't bother me as much as maybe nobody looking at it before it goes to Trent. That's the only point I'm raising. Because I don't see
He's
nothing.
not here either. Bill's not here to answer that.
You know, I mean, just something for you guys to think about.
Well, what do you think, guys?
I think he's right. I think we
Well,
should
then
have
we're
someone
going
that- 'cause
to
someone-
have to go back to square one with it, because the end result of it is you're at the end of, you're going to have, well, actually, I would assume that would be classified, putting in there as an addendum, William, that we would require that the engineer have the option of reviewing that. Would that be classified as a major change in it? I would assume it would be.
It would, looking at it.
So you're gonna have to start the process all over again.
Mike, before you do that, let me suggest something to you.
What the
Hold on a second.
actual, if you
Let me see
look
if
at
it's-
the ordinance under section 1.1, the additional language which is added here is the provisions of this section shall not apply to the constructions of bulkheads and other shore protection devices that serve to protect the Township of Lower Dune system from storms, tides. It's limited to the bulkhead. I mean, it's not a complete wipe clean of everything. It's bulkheads and dunes.
Yes.
All right. Now, DEP in doing bulkheads and dunes is going to be looking at all this, the same engineering that our engineers are going to be looking at. I mean, if you want to have that ability for your engineer not to, it's going to be another no vote. In other words, you're going to get an extra no before it gets to a potential no from DEP.
I think his argument is that
Just to have the engineer look at it, make sure, because
Yeah.
there's bulkheads built before where.
Well, there's no sense in him looking at it unless he can tell you, no, you can't submit that. I mean, just to have him look at it gets you nothing.
And Dave, the way Bill Galstock brought it to us, for bulkheading, as it existed prior to the DEP regulating it, the township did. Now what the township's doing is exactly what the state's doing, and all we're doing is holding up somebody's attempt to put a bulkhead up by at least 2 more weeks, if not 4. So it was redundancy that he wanted to eliminate.
I never
And so
thought
that
it
was-
was
it would be-
DEP, but you have an attorney, and there's 2 other attorneys present in the room that might have some experience dealing with the DEP that could tell me I'm all wet, or tell you guys maybe you need to think about it a little bit. I don't know, but certainly there's people a lot smarter about it than me. But it just seemed to me that when you're relying on the state of New Jersey for the whole deal, you got no input into what's going to happen, and down the road, that might come back and bite you. And
you know what we could do. I mean, we
See the way it was explained, and the way I understand it, even if our engineer and the homeowner's idea of what they wanted to put in front of them got a yes, if the DEP is going to give it a no,
It's
it's
still
a
a no.
no
I
anyway.
understand. I understand.
So it has to conform to what the DEP wants. So rather than us holding the homeowners up for maybe another storm coming and taking their house, then let the DEP, who's going to have the final yes or no, get to it first.
But
Put
the
them
other
in back
side of
first.
that is you can talk to the DEP, but if you don't see it ahead of time, by the time you get it, it's already said and done. You can't talk about it then, once they've decided on it. If you see it ahead of time, you've got the opportunity to talk to them about it if there's something in there you want to change.
Well, the only thing we could do is make the regulations stricter than the DEP,
Which is almost
almost impossible to do.
Okay.
But so they're not going to approve something, that,
They're usually much stricter than anyone else's, and that's, I think, what the engineer thought.
I mean, because if we approve something that's less than what they demand, they're going to shoot it down.
Sure.
So, I mean, we could table this to the next meeting and ask Bill to come. And it is, but 4 of the council people will be here.
Okay.
So you would still have a majority.
So you're saying basically if an engineer reviewed it, he's not going to have any say in it anyway, he's not going to say yes or no. It's not.
The only thing you would be getting, I think, from an engineer is if you had some special circumstance where you wanted to maintain continuity between areas or something like that, where he knew the town better. But the reviews you get from DEP generally are more strict than anything you're going to get from your engineer or this board, absent some special circumstance. And I think the purpose of this is you have people that need to get bulkheads built fairly quickly.
Right.
And get them to be able to do it. If you saw a problem, the ordinance could always be changed. But it's up to you.
Being more strict can be more costly. By having an engineer review it, you might have the opportunity to do a project a little bit cheaper than you would have, than just relying on what they send down to you.
Hey, to put this in real life, though, the people that came to us are looking at a bulkhead that worked contiguous to 30, 40 feet of sand that was lost. They are hiring an engineer, a surveyor, and are asking to bypass township, yes. it's okay project, now send it to the DEP.
It's gonna meet DEP
It's
spec.
gonna have to meet DEP
Criteria.
standards anyway.
Part of it. Look,
And-
I don't live by the water, it doesn't
Right.
matter to me, but every businessman I know that has to deal with the DEP tells you horror stories.
Oh.
And based on the fact that you're getting horror stories from every businessman you talk to that deals with them, I just thought that
I agree.
having our own guy review it made a little bit of sense.
Generally, they're horror stories, though, that they're not passing what everybody else has passed. It's not horror stories where they're letting people build whatever they want.
Yeah, it's not like they're going to allow something to occur that we don't want to have.
Right.
Due to the special circumstances, I would have no problem voting on it tonight to get everything going because of what we do have on the bay.
Was there any other
Have a
comments
review in a few
before we
months.
go any further? Yes, sir.
Yeah. My name is Robert Marino. I'm 13 Beach Avenue. I'm actually a couple of houses away from Kathy, who spoke, and Steve Weiss, right along that general area. And I would like to, I resonate with what the gentleman here said, which is that we need the help now.
Okay.
And that please remember the purpose of your original change in the resolution was that we have a problem now, and the whole state is doing things that they usually don't do, but they understand the situation. And I would ask you to not forget that, because, and I would reinforce having experience with DEP, which is generally, these guys are going to be tougher than you are even. So there's some good common sense here that I don't think crazy stuff can't happen.
Okay.
So I commend your effort. My house happens to be the one that is fully on the beach right now. I lost 35 feet to the right and left of the house. I would love to be able to do something, and that leads me to my question to this gentleman back here, which was, he said something about the township is, or somebody, is allowed to take a foot of sand and push it up without any fanfare?
Well, I think the township can do some things maybe in our access area, but what I'd prefer is that we stay within the parameters of what we're talking about here, which is the ordinance. And maybe you could, that's our public works guy, and what I would suggest as soon as we're done here, maybe you could talk with him and get information directly from him.
So, having said all that,
thank you.
My support is.
Okay, anybody else? Close the public portion.
I'll make a motion to pass ordinance 2012-22.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Laird?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Okay, what was that? Okay, we're down to administrative reports, council comments.
Very easy this tonight. Merry Christmas to all. God bless you. See you in the new year. May you have a good one.
I too would like to wish Merry Christmas to all, and enjoy the holidays, and stay safe, please.
Merry Christmas to all, and please, like everyone says, be safe, be with family, enjoy our Christmas, and keep those in prayer that have had their difficulties up north, and especially up in Connecticut too, for the families. And also, we had a very nice event at the Lower Township Rotary Christmas Parade. It actually went very well, and we had a good time.
I would agree with that. The Lower Township Raiders built a float commemorating the championship season we had, and we took first place in that parade. So the kids were on cloud nine riding on that float in front of there. They were like hometown heroes. It was such an awesome thing to see those kids and how proud they were. I'd just like to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah, I have only one complaint. The guys handing out candy canes on the side ran out of them. I didn't get one. I saw the guy driving the white car down there. The parade was really nice. That was fantastic. It's the best time of the year here in every town. There are a lot of people in need, of our prayers. It's kind of a sorrowful period in our history here, but we'll move on. Merry Christmas to everybody. Don't forget we have the New Year's family party. That is, what time now, Julie?
6 to 9 at the rec center.
6 to 9 at the rec center on the 31st. And that's really a good time, and we need to get that out there. So it's the family New Year's Eve at the rec center party. and it helps to keep the kids occupied there on that night, and it's really a lot of fun. I'll be over there. So Merry Christmas to everybody. We'll open up to comments from the public. If you wish to come forward now and take the microphone, feel free to do so. Yes, sir.
Hi, Fred Long, Cold Spring again. While we're on the subject of sand, I see in the paper that the prior sand replenishment programs are contemplated or will soon be underway. These are programs apparently that were applied for in the past. They're not related to the storm or anything, but they're related to beach replenishment. According to what I read in the paper, there's 136 or 130 some thousand cubic yards of sand going into Lower Township. But it's all going on the beach side. And I don't know the mechanics of how these requests get produced, but you might want to think about making yourselves, ourselves, part of whatever it is that produces this kind of replenishment program for some sand for some of the activities we've been hearing about over on the bay. So I just suggest that you take a look at the mechanics of this.
We are and have.
And see what might be done.
We've dealt with, and in fact, I just talked with Senator Menendez's Noel office the other day, and in reference to some of the things that a problem we had, and I used the fact that it's such an environmentally sensitive area along the bay, and that it had suffered damage, and talking with his people, they were going to forward that and look at that. But we have had a variety of meetings, and we're trying to do the best we can with it. But like I said, it's going to take a little bit of time before we get definitive answers. Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to come forward? Yes, sir.
Mayor and Council, ladies and gentlemen, there are two tremendously important meetings occurring in the very near future. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, Mr. Matty Eckram, who's the Executive Director of the MUA, will be here to discuss our meeting on Wednesday afternoon with DEP regarding the water allocation. Apparently, we're going to be talking a little bit about strategy and stuff like that, and what have you. Meeting on Wednesday at 4 o'clock will be with DEP. Now, there is some opposition to our getting water, believe it or not. I believe you'll find that Cape May is a little opposed to it, and DRBA. Our problems are perhaps the worst you could find anywhere. When Mayor Starner was mayor, he received a letter from the county health department indicating that everyone living in the villas should have municipal water. Some time ago, about 10 years, we found a lot of people getting ill in the Town Bank area. We asked the county health department to help. And they could help us, but minimally, because they didn't have much money to test. They tested roughly about 5% or less of the Town Bank area. And what they found was alarming. This is a map of Town Bank. And if you multiply all this just by 10, you'll see what I'm talking about. We have volatile organic compounds. Now, there are 4 categories of contaminants. The salt and that sort of stuff, that's next to nothing. PCBs are nothing, next to nothing. The next higher category will kill you. It's arsenic and cyanide. We have volatile organic compounds, tetrachloroethene. 1 part per billion is harmful to your health. Now, how do you measure that? Easy. You go home and let your faucet drop 1 drop a second. 1 drop. in 32 years is harmful. We have to make ourselves available. If you don't want to say anything at the meeting, fine. But it's important that we show DEP that we're unified and solidified in every way to get water through this township as soon as possible, including those that we expected to get final approval on last May. A lot of pipes in the street, pushing a lot of water. We need to get the water hooked up. Council took a very good step, absolutely wonderful step, when they made this mandatory hookup. We need to support everybody having good potable water. We don't want anybody to get sick or die. I thank you.
Thank you. And what time's that meeting, Steve? 4:30 up at the county, right?
Tomorrow's meeting.
No, tomorrow's at 9 o'clock.
Wednesday's meeting is 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock, and that's up at the county building.
Freeholders meeting room.
Okay, we'll be there. And you're right, anybody that can make it up there and show support for that, that's important. Is there any other comments? Anybody wish to address? Motion to close the public portion, motion to...
Resolution 2012-291, a resolution providing for a meeting not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. This is to discuss employment relations.
Motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Douglas?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Laird? Mayor Beck?
Yes.